So the panic over Yellowstone is misplaced. I believe it's a red herring. Prior to the Banda Aceh quake that happened in Indonesia, I think it was the BBC got a hold of me and wanted to send a film team into Bozeman to interview me over Yellowstone's going to blow. I said, guys, you're in the wrong sector of the world. Get down to Indonesia. And so what is happening with Yellowstone, why I'm calling it a red herring, is because the volcanism around the world, there's probably 37 active volcanoes going off. There's earthquakes are happening all over the Ring of Fire, which is the area around the Pacific Rim. We've got situations going on in the Long Valley Caldera, which is on the border, pretty much Mammoth Mountain area between California and Nevada on its eastern border. We've got long-period episodic quakes. And what's fascinating to me is that the big one that, has been written about so extensively, everything is going to be Yellowstone's going to blow. Before Yellowstone would blow, and I maintain it will not blow, you would have magma breaking through at the Norris Geyser Basin. And so I've been here enough years, actually decades, Greg, to pretty well keep my eye on it. What I look for are changes. We just filmed the entire geysers of all the different geyser basins in Yellowstone with a shot-over camera. Shot-over cameras, $500,000. You rent them because they're so expensive. But they are a total gimbal-stabilized platform for your camera. We shoot high-res 4K. We're shooting red cameras. That's just a brand. And getting some of the most phenomenally precise photos ever taken from the air. And we flew every geyser basin. So, again, having done this numerous times, I'm in the air 14 hours alone last month doing it, I've got a feel for Yellowstone. Plus, because I'm on the Internet so much, people from all over the country and world, geologists, everybody talks to me and says, man, Steve, they're making so much about nothing up there. They're much ado about nothing. So the fascinating thing is that perspective. And all I'm saying is, look, I'm not a geologist. By the way, my grandfather and my dad were both geophysicists. I didn't want to do that. But the point being is that it's not just, what do scientists do? They have observation, and as far as observing over 4 decades, that does give me I would say, a multi-decade perspective. And the West Coast is so problematic because you've got the Cascadia region running up and down, and
well, hold on before you move off to the West Coast. Doesn't it go off Yellowstone? I mean, I know it goes off. The geyser goes off, but in terms of a volcanic eruption for Yellowstone, isn't it like once every 600,000 years or something?
640,000 years. But remember, there are 10,000 geyser vents. 10,000, Greg. So steam is always being let off. The only thing that the steam doesn't let off is the nonsense, if you will, the hot air over people that are saying it's going to blow, it's going to blow, it's going to blow.
And that's all overblown. I mean, they had on Zero Hedge and other places 800 earthquakes in an hour, and this looks like it's going to blow up. And you're saying that's normal, and that's probably good. Is that right, to have these earthquakes?
Yeah, that is good because even the recent earthquakes that have happened, it's true. By the way, one of the bigger earthquakes in 1959 created Quake Lake, and that was a 7.3. Some people say 7.5, and 28 people were killed in a campground. And you can still see the trees that were covered in the forest. But what we're saying is that Yellowstone has indicators that most people are unaware of. Number one, I've seen silly stuff on the Internet. Someone took an Icelandic volcanic eruption and put it all over the Internet that it was going to blow. That's not only dishonest. I maintain that's full-scale propaganda to keep the eyes off of the West Coast. And Greg, wait, hold on. I want to intercept because in the pre-interview, a couple of things came out. Number one, in the research that you've sent out to me saying, listen, this is a good case. I mean, the L.A. Times is talking about that the West Coast is long, the New Madras Fault way up there north, it goes a long way. It says that they're long overdue. This was in March of 17. Also, this is the LA Times. Also, that you're saying that a lot of very wealthy people live close to Yellowstone, and they're not going to put themselves in harm's way. Will you talk a little bit about those two things? Let's start with the very wealthy people who live close in proximity to Yellowstone. Well, first of all, the Yellowstone Club, and anybody can go on their favorite search engine and check that out, It was a project developed by Tim Blixseth. And when I say you're talking the head of Google, obviously Microsoft, all of the people who are the movers and shakers, the biggest bankers, the biggest tech guys, little Hollywoods up there. So they're not going to build on, quote, an active fault that's going to erupt any time. And I tell people that, but incidentally, there have been 3 quakes, minors, 2.5s, 2.8s in the last couple of days in the area where all those guys are. Maybe God's trying to get their attention, huh? But the point being is that Yellowstone is not going to blow, and they've got one of the biggest projects underway at the Yellowstone Club right now as far as one of the biggest construction projects in the country. So, again, you don't pour that kind of money into a, quote, active volcanic concern.
And then let's go on to one of the big things that you told me about when I called you about this is, California, man. I'm telling you what. You were telling me that is going to be, that's your number one possibility for something to happen. Now, will it happen next week? Will it happen next month, next year, whatever? But you're saying that if anything's going to go, it's going to be something in California, at least as far as the United States. Is that correct?
That's what I'm saying. In addition to that, there's a guy named Bernard Chouet, Chouet. Now, this is from my memory bank. I think that's his first name. With the U.S. Geological Service that absolutely had a new and pretty revolutionary way of predicting volcanoes. And he is, by the way, I don't know what his current predictions are, but he came up with what are called long-period episodic quakes as being a precursor to a major volcanic eruption. And when you're talking about Long Valley Caldera, you're talking about, in that whole area, you're talking about 2 different faults in the Central Valley, and you're talking about the ones in the Mammoth region, again, the border of eastern California and western Nevada. So what is interesting, and what we're watching, is the length of time in the amount of quakes and the increasing magnitude. Now, the USGS, and I'm not saying there's any endorsement from anybody over what I'm saying, but what they are doing, there's a whole lot of scientific checking of gases, checking of satellite movement of the different place and ground deformation. All this indicates that somebody is seemingly in the professional world of geology and geophysics is more concerned right now, and you can tell this, more concerned with the whole Cascadia region of the Pacific Northwest going down into the Central Valley of California. And remember this, everyone, Central Valley was an inland sea, okay? So the the width of the seawall in that area is very, very narrow. And what I think is problematic for people is, again, the red herring. It's like what I call the hypnotist amulet. They want everyone to focus on Yellowstone. And by the way, people say, you're going to blow up. Well, my enemies would love that. But I said, listen, I'll go get a lawn chair and sit there, and I promise you, you will see activity on the West Coast before I see a volcanic super eruption.
And don't you have, you were telling me in the pre-interview, you have confidential sources from the DHS, which you have vetted.
Yes, sir.
And they are saying that, this is, now we're not just talking about an earthquake, we're talking about a possibility of volcanic activity on the West Coast, in that area you're talking about. And they're saying that as many as 10 million people may be killed. They don't have enough hotels and rooms and a way to evacuate people. There's not enough hotel rooms. There's not enough houses. There's not enough space to put all these people. It's going to be a calamity. This is DHS talking according to your source. Let's talk about that some.
Well, first of all, I know the source. I can tell you this. He is who he says he is, badges and all. He absolutely is very aware of what's going on, and I posted, and I've sent them to you, Greg, so if you want to put them up on my stevequayle.com. This isn't a pitch. I'm just telling people on my alert. There's a 2-part absolute word-for-word transcription of what he sent me, which you have seen.
I will link to that. I will put that on after the interview section. Sure. I will link to that to help you find it. You can send me the link, but I will link to that so people can read for themselves.
Yeah, I think
on your site.
Yep, I think it's important. No, please put it up wherever you want. Here's the deal. We're trying to get people warned, and I think what I want to come out of this interview more than anything, I want to say this. People, you are on your own. They will not come and help you. We've got just such a problematic set of circumstances that there's nobody that can call, especially when the cell phones don't work. There's no 911. I don't think people, Greg, can even begin to fathom or wrap their heads around 3 to 10 million people possibly dying. Once again, this is according to DHS. Now, there are no official statements coming out from them, but you know, as you read the alert, Greg, they're talking, it's not open to discussion. So the question is what information do they possess that they're basing their training and warning all their people on that the American people don't have access to? It's like, for instance, one of the greatest predictive, in my opinion, the greatest predictive tool was what Standeo.com, when he was watching the sea surface temperature anomaly maps. He started talking about that, and his accuracy, forgive me, it was when Stan said, this is the area to watch. And for the record, he was the only one to predict that Banda Aceh was going to go, the exact area it was going to go, because of all the indicators.
You're talking about Thailand.
Yep, but I'm also talking about the sea surface temperature anomaly. After that, the Navy site that would make that available, people, it shut it down, okay? Uh-huh. So this is critical to everybody. You're not going to be told until it's too late. And when it's too late, it's too late. So all of this concern that is being shown behind the scenes. Now, look, I have a way of vetting people.
Hold on, just a minute. I know you have a way of vetting people. Hold that thing and tell me your DHS source. Okay. Hold on there a minute. I want to come back to the carnage that's going to happen, and that you're going to be on your own. Why wouldn't they tell people? Why come up with this ruse of Yellowstone's going to blow? Of course, there's relative to Northern California, nobody's there. Right. Relative to California. Why would they come up with this ruse, this red herring, to tell you that Yellowstone's going to blow when people like you say, I've been watching this for 44 years, there's no dang way, I'm flying over it, I'm taking pictures, I'm taking readings, no way this is going to blow up, there's no signs of it blowing up, but California is. Why would they do that?
Because of the P word, panic. Again, people become so jaded that they've heard that the big one is going to happen any day, and then years go by, and outside the Northridge earthquake or some minor stuff in the Palm Desert area of California, no one takes it serious anymore. And so the criteria that when I said no one's going to come to your aid, if they won't tell you the truth and information is your first bastion of defense, then I can only submit to you that, number one, they're unable to handle the carnage, number two, they're worried about the panic, and number three, what it would do to the E word. The E word is the economy. And so the thing that they've got to do is they have to maintain that level of, hypnosis, that's my word, that to keep everything, the markets. Now, look, you know this. What would happen to the insurers and the global insurers, the reinsurers like Munich Re and others, Lloyd's of London, if something like this happens, or let's say when it happens, okay?
Oh, poof, be gone. The derivative market would melt down. Yeah. Everything would melt down. Everything's interconnected.
Yep. So the thing is that, and what would happen to the nuclear power plants? Now, obviously, I think the Diablo Canyon has been shut down, and some of the other ones. But again, what we're talking about is, as you and I are doing this broadcast, Fukushima, the Japanese government is getting ready to dump, 580 storage containers of some of the most poisonous and radioactive waste in the Pacific Ocean. I want to share something.
Dilution is the solution, according to them.
Yep, and there is, you're talking with plutonium, and one of the reactors in Fukushima is, quite candidly, it's a breeder reactor, a plutonium breeder reactor. I'd encourage everyone to go out on their favorite search engine and look up plutonium's half-life. Greg, they have rewritten, now when I say they, the powers that be that don't want panic, and it's all about money in the end of the day. 3 to 5 million, even 10 million loss of life is nothing compared to, can they make that last $1 billion hedge fund deal? Can they make that last derivative? I mean, is a musical chair, do the people that know that the needle on the phonograph, obviously I'm using an old term, is wearing out, and that the music stops? So the thing is that the economic ramifications, forget loss of life, nobody cares about that, and forget the ability to take care of it. There will be showcase taking care of it. So this is why the whole mindset of preparing. If you know no one's going to come to your aid, then it forces you to take the R word. The R word's responsibility. What is it that most people shun? They shun responsibility. They want you, Greg Hunter, or me to tell them, and maybe to worry them a little bit. And then so when nothing happens in their mind, see, those guys are just crazy. No, we're not.